Jimmy Bjorkman, one of my good buddies, a man with half a heart but lights up every room he walks into. He's a 2-time Hornet Racing Champion, and he's overcome many obstacles, and he credits that to his faith in God. And just recently, you've reached your goal that you set a few years ago to hit 6 figures in the bank account and liquid savings. What is the mindset around the money, and how has it changed from when you set that goal versus now that you've hit that goal?
Yeah, for me, I mean, obviously big goal starting out. I got the goal in my mind summer 2021, right before I went to Boston. Just more for like, not to just have it, or not for anything to get in particular, like purchase-wise, but to just have it for security, because you never know what can happen. But, through finally achieving it now, 3 years later, crazy road to get it. I guess what's changed my mindset, once you set a big goal like that, right? And once you achieve a big goal like that and you actually hit it, you realize it's not even about the goal, it's about the journey. And that's what makes it that much sweeter, because you remember, like I was explaining to you a little bit about how I got it, and those days, those early mornings when it's cold out, got up, still went and made it happen. So yeah, it's all about the process. That's the name of the podcast. What a coincidence. But yeah, once you're there, you realize it's not even about the money. It's more about, the security, the freedom, and just, what you did to get it.
Yeah, and I think the grit behind it, because we've talked before about it, and we'll talk more about it later in the podcast, but moving to Boston. And once you move to Boston, obviously it's cold weather up there, something I'm not used to at all.
Yep.
But you move up to Boston, and now you mentioned to hit this goal, you were working nights. You were Ubering throughout the night, taking people to the airport. Speak on that, because it's not like you set it. It's not like you set this goal to hit 6 figures in the bank account, and then it just happened because you blew up on social media or your company blew up. But you actually sat down for 2-3 years and grinded it out. You Ubered people for 4 hours in the middle of the night. You were working another job that you were doing at the same time.
Yep.
So speak on putting the feet down and like seeing those small progressions versus some people who might take that step into wealth or whatever it is quicker.
Yeah, so for me, it was all about, I got the idea of doing Uber on the side before I moved to Boston. And so I thought, I always wanted to move to Boston, so that's where I was going to be, right? And I went out there, got a job, and, got all the stuff transferred over. And just getting up early, that was important. I think being able to do it for such a prolonged period is the hardest thing people have to deal with to achieve their goals. Because I think most people, or a lot of people, give up what they want most for what they want now in that moment. And that's what restricts them from hitting those goals. So for me, it was always just remembering, what do I want most, not what I want now. Like every morning, for example, so I'd have my regular job. I was outside sales rep for Napa out there. And I'd work from 9 to 3, 4, right? AM to PM there. But for Uber, I was thinking, how could I make extra money? And that's Uber, right? So I'd get up 3:30 every morning, get to my car by 4, and it's snowing, it's raining, and it was brutal. It's cold, but you got to make it happen, because I remember I'd wake up at like 3 a.m., 3:30. Even if I went to bed at midnight, I'd be like, I'm just going to stay in. But I remembered in those moments that, those are the times when the good people become the greats, right? Getting up and doing stuff when you don't want to. So I really credit the success to those mornings. And example, I had a certain threshold I wanted to make in Uber every day. And if I didn't hit it in the morning, I'd go back out right after work at night. And so I was hitting it either way, no matter what.
Wow.
But it just depended on if I was going to hit it all in the morning. So that's why I was disciplined, just wanted to get over with. Because I wanted some social life, But then on the weekends, I'd go all night, because I didn't. That was the other thing. It messed up my sleep schedule, because I'd be getting up 3 a.m. during the week, and then at night or on the weekends, I'd be going all night. So I'd take a nap after work Friday. I'd go out at 9, go till 5 a.m.
Yeah,
since it's busy on the weekends. So just the grid, I guess.
And I think it takes something special for someone to do that, waking up at 3 a.m. in the cold. And I'm living in Tampa, Florida, and even some mornings it's hard to get up with 4 or 5 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
But I think what it comes down to is your why being so strong.
Yeah. Yep.
So obviously you set the goal of 6 figures, and that's not what it's exactly about. I think it's more of a shooting like place to be financially free. But I think I want to dive deeper into what is your why. I mean, your why seems so strong, right?
Yeah. Yep. I mean, it all goes back to my heart condition I was born with. Growing up, I was always, anyone like, oh, be careful with him, his heart condition, and I'm not that big, I'm pretty small.
Yeah.
So there was that too, like, oh, he's small, he got
Can
a
you
heart condition.
speak on what the heart condition is a little bit more and go a little bit more in depth about, so we've talked, but you've had 7 heart surgeries up to this point.
Yep.
And speak about what it is, kind of the challenges you faced with it as well.
Yeah, so I was born with half a heart, medical term, hypoplastic left heart syndrome. Basically born without the left side of my heart, so I got 1 pumping chamber. So my first surgery was at 3 days old. It was like a 3-step procedure. The first 3 surgeries was one whole thing. So the first surgery, I believe, is called the Fontan. And what that is, that's the first step of a surgery. I might be wrong on which step is which, but one of the steps, they drain the superior vena cava from my brain and connect that to the lung artery instead to give me some extra blood flow to my lungs so I can breathe. So this 3-step surgery, each surgery had to be a certain time apart. So the first one was at 3 days old. The second one was 4 months old. My third one was at 3 years old. And it was all part of the same thing, but it was these certain steps to make the heart functional so I could live.
It was like a certain procedure they'd go through that wasn't just one surgery. It was multiple surgeries of making step by step to allow your heart to work.
Exactly.
Wow. And so 7 surgeries, and we just talked, but basically this is something that can continue to have more surgeries, or you were actually told that at 18 you would have to have a heart transplant. But because of technology and how good it's become today, that never happened.
Yep.
Right? And so I want to ask, like, how do you walk into every day like you do, with your why being this? I guess let's dive deeper into the why. So it's because of this heart surgery. Do you just is it showing people what you can do even when you're told you can't?
Yep.
Is that what it is?
It's not to show other people. It's more
show myself.
Exactly. I was always told I couldn't do stuff. And for me, I'm pretty competitive. And it builds a chip on my shoulder. So I take that to anything I do, whether it's racing, success, business. And that's my why. Because, a lot of people, it's not an issue if your medical conditions, they, prevent people from doing stuff, which is totally fine. And that's a reason why a lot of people don't do stuff. That's the reason why they can't. But for me, it's the reason why, So it's just it's like you were saying, goes back to when I was young, just being told I could never do this, could never do that, might not be able to do this. Well, when I'm told I can't do something, I want to do it even more. So,
I think that's so cool because a lot of people, and especially what the process is about, is kind of empowering others through other people's stories. And they see you and it's like, man, this is like one of the coolest stories I've ever heard. And I didn't even know about until we were about to do this podcast. But a lot of people would look at this and probably have that limiting belief or those victim mindsets, like, why did this happen to me? Why did this happen to me? But I see you, and like we're reading this book right now in the group, but it's Hero on a Mission, and I see you as the hero, man. You're the hero, and you're the guide for the people who are gonna have this rare condition in the future. Then see, like, look at this, look at Jimmy, like, look at his life, like the people that are in your life. Hopefully, this podcast, it's gonna be a conversation that will always be cemented forever. And I believe it's going to reach the people who it's supposed to and meant to.
Oh, yeah.
But they can see, dude, this guy got told he had to get a heart transplant, or that he wouldn't, that like there was different chances of survival. But you didn't care. Nope. And so you didn't care, and you used it as your why for, this is why I'm going to work so hard. This is why I'm going to prove to myself that this thing won't limit me, versus how other people could look at it. And I think that's so cool. And going into kind of this part of your life, I guess, you've kind of told me that you haven't told anyone else about this. And so I think that's cool because it doesn't.
Yep.
But I'm so glad you get to tell your story here because it's inspiring. But how are you able to just go about that? And I know it ties back to your faith. Like you've said, because of your faith, you've been able to make these steps in all these different areas of your life. So how has that tied back and allowed you to even empower you more that this is your why and this is God's plan for you?
Yeah, yep. I mean, I think it always goes back to, like, I got confirmed when I was
Okay.
8th grade, I believe. Right? Yeah, 14, 15. And back then we had to pick a confirmation verse. And I picked Proverbs 3:5. And at that time, we kind of just picked one, right? And throughout my life since then, I've seen how much that's correlated with my life. And it's trust in the Lord with all your heart and not lean on your own understanding. And there's been so many times in my life where, like, my family knows this, I'm a warrior.
Mm-hmm.
And they,
I see that. I see it.
they still would think they would still call me a warrior probably. But I don't think that anymore as much because of, I always remember that quote, because you don't want to lean on your own understanding, right? So you want to just put the trust in him. And by doing that, it's popped up many times through racing, business. No matter what happens, it's going to get figured out, right? So that kind of goes back to the why. It's like, you're going to make it happen. Another analogy I like to look at as far as the cards I've been dealt, right? So say you go to a casino, right? And you get dealt a hand of cards. You're going to play the hand no matter what. If it's bad or good, you got to. So
till the end.
You do it in the casino, why aren't you doing it in life? So that's how I look at it.
I think I use that metaphor a lot too, because we all have different cards we're dealt.
Yeah, I heard you say it a little bit.
Yeah. And we're all dealt different cards. And I think it really just comes down to, just because you're going through something, like whatever you're going through, whatever someone else is going through, like one doesn't invalidate another. Like that hardest thing in someone's life is just as hard as someone else's life. Yep. So it's like we're all dealt different cards. It's just, how do you work with them? How do you play the cards?
Yep.
And I think you're playing them so well. And I love that Proverbs 3:5, because, if you were looking at your own understanding, now that you've grown, you're an adult, and you're looking at, why would God do this to me? That's your own understanding. But when you look at that verse and you say, no, I trust in God fully with this plan.
Oh, yeah.
And like you said, medical technology keeps going, and you could live longer than you ever thought. And also, it's like, whatever it is, it doesn't matter, because you just hands off, I trust in God with this. Mm-hmm. And so you show up every day. Exactly. But I want to touch more on the part of being told that you can't do these things. So in high school, you had been playing sports, but you were actually told, hey, you can't play sports anymore because if you get hit too hard, like you can't take it. Yep. And so I want you to kind of speak on how that affected you at that point, and then obviously talk about the pivot.
Yeah, so that's like the main motivator for me in racing, and not even my family knows that. That's the thing that, we got the shirts on.
We got the shirts on, repping that.
Yes, but that's the thing that gets me going the most, because, growing up, well, my dad passed away. Obviously, we talked about that.
We can dive into this.
We'll get to that later.
Bit,
but just to caveat to something based off that.
Or at the same time, racing and the number.
Yeah.
So let's dive into all of it.
Yeah, but so with that, a son, in most circumstances, not all, obviously, but a lot of times you want to be like your dad as a kid. Well, I never had that. So for me, it was like my brothers. I wanted to be like them. And how I wanted to do that was through sports. So I watched my brothers in high school sports as I was growing up. I'm the youngest. And I finally get to 8th grade, and I couldn't do sports. So that really took a toll on me that I'd never really talk about. But that's when I started racing. Racing's safe enough. It's probably safer than driving in a car on the street because the safety equipment.
Yeah.
So that is what really motivates me in racing, is just I was told I couldn't do that. So it's the one thing I could do. So that's why I take it so serious.
Took it so serious. And so you're a part of the Hornet Racing League?
Yeah, it's a Hornet division.
The Hornet division in NASCAR. And
it's a NASCAR sanctioned division. Yep.
And so you go from not being able to play sports to I can do this thing. It's a safe thing. Yep. And now you hop in this car for the first time, and you're on this journey, and your dad also raced.
Yep.
Right? Correct? So your dad raced, and it's almost like a calling kind of thing. It's like trusting in God's plan. Exactly. Like literally, it's like the one thing you can do is the thing your dad that you never, you got to meet, but in memoriam, you get to do what he did. And you also drive the number 28 to remember him. Yep. So speak on 28, that number, and obviously it's on our shirts, but what that means to you.
Yeah, it was his number racing, and going back to that, and my brothers raced too. So it was like the perfect culmination of brothers and a sense of, my dad, right? So he was number 28, so that's always been my favorite number. It just always was because of that. Because I was at the racetrack, and being able to race that in memory of him is pretty cool, because he raced before I was even born. So it's cool to, not only do something he did, but race the same number on the same exact track.
And that be the only thing that you actually were told you could, not
Exactly.
told you could do, but like you had to go out and seek, like, can I do this? And they're like, physically, yes. And then walk us through the journey of starting something, how you started racing, I guess, because you have to have a car.
Yep.
And a lot of people might see, like, there's so many steps to get started in this venture.
Yep.
How do I get there? You manage that. But then on top of that, you took 3 consecutive second places, didn't stop, and now I've won 2 championships in 2020 and 2024.
Yep.
So walk us through, like, your racing journey, how you got started, and how you got to be successful and win.
Yeah, yep. So I've been at the track since probably 2003, 2004, watching my uncles race, my mom's brothers, and they actually started racing alongside my dad before I was born. So it's kind of cool. And actually the shirt we're wearing, this paint scheme is my uncle's first paint scheme ever. And he was 28 to start, and then he went to 23. But so yeah, this is a throwback paint scheme to that. But how it started was back to the main thing. I grew up at the racetrack. I always knew I wanted to race. Then my brothers started racing. We get to 2016. It's like 2 years after I stopped playing all the other sports. It's like, let's make this happen. My mom said I had to wait till 18, but I was like, we got to do it. Let's make it happen. So we get a car. My brother bought a car. He raced it in 2015. I bought it for him in 2016. And that was my first year. Sorry, the goal for me the first year was just win a race. That was the main goal. And came close. My 4th night out, I had the lead with like 4 to go. I remember I watch in the mirror a lot because, I could see the good guys coming. Because there's one guy, his name's Mark Bornitz. If you see it, Mark Bornitz, he's legend in the Hornets. But I grew up watching him. I go down and get his autographs, right? As a kid. And
dude, that's so
I see like 8 laps to go. I remember this night. It was like June something, by like June 15th, somewhere around there, 2016. And I see him coming. And when you're focusing on the mirror, you probably make mistakes. But I remember thinking, okay, 8 to go, 7 to go, 6 laps to go. And around 4 laps to go, I kept telling myself the whole race, don't think you got it. You have to.
Yeah.
Don't get
it's
too
not
high.
over
Don't
till
get
it's
too
over.
low. That's the biggest thing in racing. You don't want to get too high or too low. It's steady, right? And right at 4 to go, I started thinking, I got it. I have a big lead. And coming around the backstretch, the next lap, my car started sputtering. No power.
No way.
And it was literally the
power or out of gas?
Something in the distributor. I don't know if you're a car guy.
No, I'm not.
But something in the distributor came disconnected, and it was just something so small that it was fine like the next day. So that kind of,
Did you finish the race or was that it?
No, I think I had to pull in with 2 to go. I had no power. Just coasted to a stop. But so that was, I came close there, right? And then the rest of the season, you're a rookie, you make mistakes, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, oh, am I going to have another shot? Well, it came to the last race of the year, which is the Oktoberfest races. And that's the championship night for the whole season.
Yeah.
So you can still win the race and not win the championship because there's 25 guys out there. And so I went out there and I was determined I was going to win because that was the race to do it. And I ended up getting it done, which was cool, which the only downside is I wanted to win a race, and then the next year my goal is to win the Oktoberfest race. Well, my first win was the Oktoberfest race. So then it was like, I remember I was working at this race shop, and this guy named Zach that I worked with, he specifically asked me, he probably don't remember this conversation, but I do.
Yeah.
He said, what now? You won a race. What do you want to do now? What are you going to do? I said, well, I'm going to win a championship. He said, well, really? Your second year? I said, yeah, why not, right? So, it's a big goal, right away. Second year, came out, great season. I think I had a couple wins. And I went in a championship night down by 7 to Mark Bornitz, the guy I always grew up watching in the Hornets. And the night it rained, canceled. It's over.
No way.
So I lost by 7.
That was 2018?
2017.
Oh, 2017.
Yep.
Okay,
So
second season.
Exactly. So 2018, I'm like, well, I'm going to go win it this year. Let's make it happen, right? So another great year. And I think going to the championship night, I was down by 19 points. And it's 1 point per position. So just, for example, make it easy. First place, 20 points. 20th place gets 1 point.
So that was the only way to win.
And it's an accumulation of the whole year.
So the only way to win would have been if you had got first and he had got last.
Essentially, yeah. So I started like 22nd. He started 25th. His name is Brandon. He played the race pretty safe. He knew he just needed to finish like 18th, even if I won.
Yeah.
And I drove from 22nd or 21st to 3rd in 20 laps. And that was like one of the greatest races I've ever done. But he just bumped up to like 15th, you know. So I lost.
Yeah.
So that was a tough one because we were close there. And then I'm like, okay, well, you hear the saying, third time's a charm. You know, we're going to make it happen. So I come back the next year, and this was my greatest year, I'd say, racing, win-wise, for me. Most wins in 2019. But I was up against Mark Bornitz again.
Bro, this guy, Mark Bornitz,
Yeah.
I hope he watches this, dude.
Yeah,
you gotta
right?
send it to him. Are you like buddies with him? At this point, you
got
gotta
him
be
on
pretty good buddies with him.
Yeah, he goes to races and does me a good job and whatnot nowadays.
Yes. Yeah.
He doesn't race anymore really, so. But yeah, he's coming back in 2019. I'm like, okay, well, let's get
a little closer to the mic.
A little closer.
Yeah. So yeah,
Okay.
there we go. And so we're getting, so now we're going to 2019. You're up against Mark Bornitz.
Yep.
And so third time's the charm. So what happens?
Exactly. So, I'm going into it. It's a great year. We're back and forth all year in the points. And going into the championship, I believe I was only down 9. So I'm like, okay, got to beat him by
it.
So the race is going. It's going great. And I'm not paying attention too much to where he is, but I remember with like 11 to go, I glanced up at the leaderboard. It shows the top 10. And he wasn't in the top 10. And I was like 5th. So I'm thinking, okay, we're up on 5 spots by him. So we're down by 3 right now. Got to find some separation. And next thing I know, I'm wrecked. I get wrecked. Get clipped. There was a little pile up below me, and a car went up and hooked me. It was actually, fun fact, my girlfriend at the time, she raced. It was actually her I made contact with. So that was funny.
Wait, so you were racing, you were dating this girl,
Yep.
and she was also racing.
Yeah.
And she wrecked you while you're trying to win a championship.
Well, she didn't,
She didn't mean to.
Yeah, she got hit and just,
but
I was there.
What?
But it was funny, after the race, she comes up to me, oh, I'm sorry, And I'm like, she goes, what happened? I just point at my rim. I'm like, someone hit you. I'm like, look at the paint on it. And
Was
it's
it pink?
Purple. She goes, oh, that was me. I'm like, yeah, but that's just what happens. I wouldn't mad at her, obviously. It's just racing. But so just different ways I lost, to recap. It got canceled. That was my best shot.
4 years. So got canceled.
Yep.
Got clipped by your girlfriend.
Yep.
Dude, that is the craziest
on the 3rd year.
story.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then what? First year?
The rookie year was just to win a race, which we did.
Yeah.
But yeah, the second year rained out. The second loss, 3rd year.
Yeah.
We ran a good race, just too much point separation. Then the 3rd year I got wrecked.
All right, now 2020. Tell me about it.
So
COVID?
So 2020, I was graduating college that year, and I knew I wanted to move to Boston, and it was the time to make it happen. So I kind of, in my head, it was like, this is it. Like, this is the shot. And the previous years, it was, can I do it, But that year was like, I have to do it this year. So that year I went into it. You got to just dominate this year. So the first race, went out and won that one. Got fast time in qualifying that day. Set the season off great. And then I think I lost the point lead on the 3rd week all the way till 2 nights to go. So and a really fast car I was competing against, and took the lead back. And going into championship night, I was up by 19. Felt pretty comfortable. But the nerves, because I've lost 3 in a row, right?
You've lost 3 in a row, and also it's like, even though you're up by 19, you have to finish.
Exactly.
And you never know what person could not pay attention and hit you.
Exactly.
Or what might happen.
Exactly. Anything can happen. And I think I had to get 11. If that person won the race, I had to get 11th, because they changed the point system a little bit. From 1st to 5th, it's 2 points a position. Yeah. So that's even more. If you wreck, that's not good. So I knew if I got 11th and they won the race, I would have won by 1. So I'm like, okay, we're good. So we start the race, and I don't think I've even told you this, but we start the race, and we're going, and second lap, I make the dumbest move I've ever had in my life racing. I just drove down on somebody and spun myself out, and caution comes out. I pull in the pits. They check the fenders, make sure the tires aren't rubbing. We go back out. I got to start dead last. So I'm restarting 25th. That person's in 13th. Okay, still got it, but
yeah, barely. And
right?
if he gets into 5th, you're cooked.
Exactly. So we're going. Race starts, and I remember thinking, just don't look at the board, like how many laps are to go. You just got to go. And then there was a moment with I did look up. There was a moment with 6 to go where I looked up and that person was in 3rd place. And I didn't know where I was because I wasn't on the board. So I'm thinking, uh-oh. And I remember distinctly coming out of turn 4, looking at cars ahead of me at their numbers. And then I was doing math while I was racing. I'm a good multitasker. A lot of people that know me, I'm doing that a lot. I watch the board. Probably not. I probably do it too much. But yeah, so I remember doing the math, and long story short, I finished 11th. They got 3rd. So, but if they won the race, I would have only won by 1. But we got it done. So just squeaked it out. So I think I passed 14 cars in those laps to make it happen. So that was a relief.
Dude, that's just that's a 4-year story of never quitting.
Exactly.
Literally, every little thing that could have happened for you to lose happened, and someone might give up. I'm going to school. I might not I'll just stop racing. But you put the head down for that last season.
Exactly.
Then actually, moved to Boston after you graduated.
Yep.
And then 2024, man.
Yeah.
Who would have thought? So was this ever planned? But you went back and won your 2nd championship.
Yeah. So my whole plan was, after I lost a couple of times, I was like, I'm just going to win this thing and, leave, set off as the champion. That's exactly what I did. I had no plans of racing again. But then I had an opportunity to fly back from Boston and race somebody's car in the same division in May of 2022. So this would have been a whole year and a half after my championship. I've been living in Boston. I fly back to race the opener of the 2022 season. I never sat in this car until the night before. So, okay. Let's go make it happen. But I'm not there to just race. I'm there to win because, I got one race. So I ended up winning the heat. I won the feature. So that was cool. It's pretty, that's
so one was someone else's car.
Exactly. Somebody else's car. Never sat in until that night prior. And when I was pulling into victory lane, I remember thinking to myself, this isn't going to be the last time I'm pulling in here. Because I got the itch back right there. Oh. And right there, I should have never raced again if I didn't want to race at that time. But right there, I knew. I was like, great, we're going to do this again, which is a good thing, but it's a lot of work. And so basically, long story short, I moved back from Boston. I'm back racing this car here. And I won the one championship already. So for me, that was the standard. So it was, you got to win it, so. It
was the standard, but you also got the itch back. It's what you love to do.
Exactly.
So it was that mix of this is the standard. This is what I love to do.
Yep.
I'm blessed to have it one more year. Let's do it.
Exactly. So the season started off, I think I got fast time the first night. I think I won my 3rd race of the year. I only won 1 race this year, but it's about consistency for the championship. I think I broke the track record for fastest lap in qualifying the 6th night. It actually got broke a week later by a different guy. But it was cool to do that. So we had a really good year. I think going into the championship night, I had a 17-point lead, and I ended up winning by, I think, 15. So
held it.
Not as crazy as the last finish, but it was definitely, anything can happen. So,
dude, that's amazing. And that's all, it's so cool because like you said, dude, Proverbs 3:5 that's a cool verse you brought up, and it's something you never would have seen. Brought you probably the most joy a sport could have out of any sport you would have ever brought. And you got to tie that into memoriam to your dad too.
Yeah, and even because there was times where it's I could have been I'm ever gonna win this, but I just remember the quote, right, the verse, and I always felt like I was going to make it happen, just a matter of when. There was something I was being taught in those moments. But in the time, you're like,
you don't see it.
You don't see it. You only can connect the dots looking backwards, right? So finally, when I won, I realized it's not even about the winning. It's kind of what we talked about prior with anything. It's just about the process of getting there. And what I learned through racing is, no matter what, you can achieve a goal. Even though, when you lose a championship, you got to restart the whole next year. One day, one bad race happens, you're out of the championship, right? So being able to just keep going, not quitting, and seeing a goal realized, I've been able to do that and other things in my life and just not quitting until I hit it. I just think of racing because of that.
What's your biggest piece of advice to someone who feels stuck, someone who's told they can't do something, someone who has these limiting beliefs around themselves, and how do you break through that?
Yeah, so I'd say the biggest piece of advice you said that I've heard.
Yeah, what's the biggest piece of advice to someone who feels stuck, who has these limiting beliefs, or someone who's been told that you can't do that? whether it's because of a condition or whether it's because people just don't see like someone else doesn't see the potential.
Yeah, for me, it's probably, I heard a quote once. I mean, you've probably heard it, but you never really know if something is good or bad for you until later on. And that's what always has kept me going too, is anything bad happens to me. A lot of people, bad thing happens to you, you fold up, you quit, right? For me, you don't know how it's going to affect you later on, whether it's 2 days, 3 weeks, a year, 5 years. Because that one bad thing that could happen could end up being the reason a good thing happened. So that's just the mindset you got to have. So that's how you keep a level head for me. And that's kind of how I stopped worrying about everything, is just, you don't know how this is going to play out. Just let it go. Let it work out. Like the Lil Wayne song, let it all work out.
Yeah, no, I mean, seriously. I mean, I've talked about it in episode 1, but dude, the thing that when I was in it with like my OCD was the thing that I was like, this is a bad thing. This is tough. This is something I struggle with. Led me to my faith and my relationship with Jesus, which is the best thing. It's like you would never know that
exactly
when you're in it, but look what it does.
Exactly.
So I think that's an amazing piece of advice, and that's so cool. So I want to talk. So we're being confirmed. Is that part of being Catholic? Is that Catholic or Lutheran? Yeah. Okay. So what's your like testimony? Because you got confirmed in 8th grade. It was obviously your own decision. What brought you to getting confirmed, wanting to do that, and speak more about it? Because I'm not well informed on it.
Yep. Yeah. So I mean, I grew up Lutheran. I still am Lutheran. Going to church 2 miles from my house. My mom would work a lot of weekends, so I'd go at night with her during the week, whenever, like Monday nights, Wednesday nights. But I'd go all the time with my grandma on Sundays. Same church, right? So just going there every week growing up. She'd pick me up. We'd go to church, and we go to, like, I don't know if you know what Perkins is. Do they have that down in Georgia?
No.
No, they don't have that down there. But we go to Perkins, or what's the other place we went? But Perkins was the main thing, right? Or Features, right? It's a sports bar. I forget you're from up there. But yeah, so just doing that my whole life. And, I remember my grandma, she actually just passed away 2 months ago. And she always told me, don't forget God. She'd tell the whole family that, right? Yeah. I remember distinctly, probably 5 years ago, they said, what's your birthday wish? I don't know if my family remembers this, but I distinctly remember this at one of her birthdays. She just said, I wish nobody forgets about God. And that stuck with me. So,
that's so cool. What. And like, dude, your grandma's looking down at you right now. Mm-hmm. Just so proud, man.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, keep going. So you'd go to church with her on Sundays, go grab some food.
Yep, grab some food. And then, confirmation starts. That's when you become able to take communion. So it's a 3 years, 6th, 7th, 8th grade, Wednesday nights. So it's like Bible study, basically, with the pastor for 3 years. It's during the school year, not during the summer. And just going through that, then, end of that, you get confirmed, then you can take communion in the church. And then that's where you get a Bible verse at the end. So you're supposed to live your life through that verse after.
Dude, that is so cool. And hearing that story is awesome, right? Because you're spending time with God, but you're also spending time with family. And I think that's so important because even in this day and age, a lot of people, I feel like we're losing that touch and sense of spending time with people that matter, or like friends and family, and we're getting more and more and spending time on technology. Yep. And I don't know if you've noticed this, but like growing up, like I work as a server assistant, and I see kids come to the restaurant, and like part of having kids is they're gonna misbehave, they're gonna be loud, they're gonna be obnoxious. But I just watch parents throw iPads in front of their kids and phones in front of their kids. Yep. And it's like you're teaching them that they can never be bored. And you're not teaching them how to just sit there, and then eventually it leads to family dinners when they're younger adults, when they're teenagers and they're on their phones. Yeah. And I think that's the biggest problem we have is people aren't intentionally spending time with family. And at this point, we're adults and moved away with friends. Yep. And that's something I struggled with moving away from college. And I want you to kind of speak if you had the same experience. But when you move away from college, you're putting yourself in an uncomfortable situation if you're not going back home. Yep. And so for me, it was moving to Tampa. I knew nobody. Yep. And I realized, hey, friendships are going to be a lot different than what they were in college, because in college, you're within a mile radius of every one of your friends. Yep. And you're going to see them every day. But now that we're in the real world, you have jobs, you have responsibilities, and making friendships is a lot more intentional. And so that's when I kind of started a Bible study and dinner. And dude, like the group of guys in that Bible study and that dinner have become so much closer, and it just becomes with intention.
Yep.
And I think connecting it to our faith, because we have the same values, morals, and really relying and trusting in God in everything we do. So Did you find that same experience when you, one, moved from college, and then two, moved to Boston, putting yourself somewhere where you knew no one?
As far as how to make friends, you're saying? And just
like,
connect?
did you struggle with that? Like, did you find differences in how easy, or like easy, maybe not easy in college to then in Boston?
Yeah, so I mean, I went to college, just like Shane, only 20 minutes from home. So that really wasn't much of a transition because everybody was there.
You were still comfortable.
Exactly. For me, I mean, I remember walking into my first class being a little like uncomfortable, but I met some cool guys in there. Good buddy Brad. I haven't talked to Brad in probably maybe 3 or 4 years, but I see his Snapchat. Yeah,
gotta reach out to the guy. Give him a call.
So we hung out a lot. He became a good friend through that. Met a buddy named Dan in college. We actually went to a business conference in Miami when I was 18. Grant Cardone. It was the 10X Growth Conference. I don't know if you've heard of that.
No.
But it's a great conference. But yeah, so that's, I was pretty comfortable in college, but for me, the big move was Boston. I packed up my car. I booked an Airbnb for a month. I didn't have no plan. I didn't know anyone. I didn't have a job lined up. I was like, we're going to figure it out, because that's the best thing you can do for yourself. Because I think when you put yourself in uncomfortable situations and things you don't want to do, you end up getting places you never thought you could get, which is what you want to, you want to achieve anything. Right. So, for me, I got out there and it was tough to meet people for sure. I mean, the first person I met was just through passing, started hanging out. I met this girl, we hung out a little bit, and I just met one person from one person, right? So it all just branches out, and you got to find people that you want to hang around with, the right connections, right? So through that, kind of going in blind, not knowing, is almost even better because you're so much more open to all sorts of friends.
Yeah, and then I feel like you start to piece them together to create your community.
Yep.
But some people don't. And so I think the piecing together, and it's like when you put yourself in a place where you're super uncomfortable, like I know for a fact if I stayed at home and didn't move to Tampa, none of the blessings in my life that have been coming to me and like the passions that I've started to pursue would have come to. But it's like putting yourself uncomfortable almost allows for the plans that God has for you to unravel themselves. And I'm not saying you can't live at home after, you can't do this or that, but it's going into a place of uncomfortability. And so it's like for me, it was moving here, not knowing anyone. And like, then I just slowly, server assistant, walked in, got that job, and it's amazing. And then I've started this podcast. And so these plans that God has he makes them known to you, and you can pray about it. And then they start to provide you that path.
Exactly what you got to do.
And so let's touch on Boston. So Boston has been the place you've wanted to live for years. It was your gamer tag back in the day.
Yes.
And it actually relates to, you just told me, you actually, because of your heart condition, were a Make-A-Wish kid for like, it's just funny because you brought it up. It's not funny that, just the way you brought it up. But you were a Make-A-Wish kid and you got to go on your Instagram and you were on the hockey arena playing hockey with, or like standing for the national anthem, which is the coolest thing ever. But it was right before one of your surgeries, which I'm sure that's why like you got to do that. But it's like, I think you said you walked home that night and you said, Mom, like I'm moving here. I know I'll move here.
Yeah. Yep. I was in the entryway to the Zamboni doors, and I remember looking up at the, just the whole. I was about to get on the Zamboni. It was pretty cool, but I remember looking at the stadium, the atmosphere, and I remember just saying, I'm gonna move here. She didn't think too much. I'm like 14, I'm like this tall.
She's like, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I had a heart surgery to worry about,
Yeah. But like, you're here for a reason. Like,
exactly.
Because whatever, you have a heart surgery that's serious. Like, let's just get past that.
Like, no, we're moving here, So, but yeah, so that's the night I wanted to really move there. I was always obsessed with Boston for some reason, and then the Bruins. I don't know why, but yeah, that's where I always wanted to move, and finally made it happen. Like you said, my gamer tag on my Xbox when I was 10 was the Bostonian 28, and I remember distinctly Shane saying to me on the mic one night, we were playing GTA. I actually remember where I was on the map. He goes, "Why do you like that place so much? You've never been there." I'm like, we're like 12. I'm like, oh, it's the best place ever, man.
You've never been there. You've never seen it.
Yeah.
You're just like, oh, Boston. It's one of those things when you're a kid. And then it comes to, man, like one thing step to another, and it's so cool because it's like, whereas you keep seeing, dude, it's amazing because you see this heart condition as like some people would see like, oh, like Jimmy has this, I feel for him, or like you said, your family's never even brought it up, which is amazing because they just whatever. But you're like, bro, because of that, I went to the hockey game. Because of that, I found Boston, and it is the place I always thought of. Because it's the place I always thought of, and because you're so focused on what you were pursuing and that you were going to go to Boston, bro, you have the willpower to get through anything. You got through the surgery, and then guess what? Next thing you know, hop in your car, drive there, Airbnb, and you make it come true, man.
Yep.
So I think that's just a cool, like, it's such a cool story, and it's so inspiring. And now, we're obviously not in Boston.
Yep.
We're in Tampa, Florida.
Yep. And
Shane, as you just mentioned, someone you've known since kindergarten. You're now a part of Strength as the talent manager. Yep. And yeah, it's pretty amazing. We were sitting down. We were on the treadmills yesterday, hitting that after a workout on Monday. And it was after the pod with Shane went out, and you were like, "Dude, I got 22 calls today," and it just shows like to that workhorse, that why. And I was like, "Oh, 22 calls. Like, how many can you take?" He was like, "I'll take 90 a day if it takes that." And it's like, it's so true. So Shane put you on. And he talked about how you guys were going to work at Subway together. And the boss was like, no, you're not going to work together. But then you put you and Shane together, two people who are so driven. So I think the whys are so strong. And watching them work together, dude, I'm so excited to watch where it goes. But how have you navigated that shift from Boston back home, one more season of racing, to now coming to Tampa, moving again, and now being full-time Strength employee?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously a bunch of transitions there, going from chasing that goal on my own in Boston, back to Wisconsin for a year, racing, and then down to Florida. I mean, a couple of years ago, Shane was like, hey, we should go to Florida, check it out. Even if it's just for a winter or a year or whatnot, we got to check it out. So that was kind of always in the plan. I don't think we both knew if it was actually going to happen. We talked about it. And then
talk about the triangle.
Yeah, so I remember that night he said that. He's like, oh, we go to Tampa, man, or Miami or whatnot. And I remember looking, this is probably 2021, maybe 2022. I took a picture of the map and I drew a triangle between my town of Wisconsin, Boston, and Tampa. And it wasn't, obviously 3 points is going to make a triangle, but it was the perfect triangle. Like, it was level and it was just the angles were exact. And it was a sign like, we got to make that happen and do it. So being able to come down here and do this with him, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, so talk more about your position, talent manager. So you have right now probably 15 to 25 calls a day, sales calls, along with doing some other tedious things within the business. What does this role for Jimmy look like expanding? What does expanding Strength look like, and how do you play that role right now into there?
So I don't think we just made a big change yesterday, actually, kind of. So Shane's planning on bringing on a second full-time employee. I don't know if you heard that yet.
No, I haven't.
Diego. His plan is to move down to Florida here in March and because right now he's just a strength specialist, strength coach, and he does the onboarding for the strength training. I do the Gladiator program, Sky Enterprise coaching, and the Ambassador program. And Shane was figuring out ways how to get Diego full-time. So the big next step for 2025, starting January 1st, Diego is going to go full-time on the coach side, the back end. I'm going to take over all the sales calls. I'm going to do his training calls. So I'm going to be full on
everything. You're everything.
The sales calls.
And onboarding.
And then Diego's going to work on retention. Because right now we need better retention to keep people on the team. It's still great, the numbers we're doing, but we want to keep everybody on the team that joins. So having Diego full time to build those relationships is going to be huge for the business. I know Shane's pumped for it. This is all like within the last 15 hours. Like Diego, we had the phone call Diego last night because we had to make sure Diego was okay with dropping that training call and me taking that because that was the only way I'd, want to do it.
It's making sure like the things that you're great at, you're being able to do more of them, and then the thing that he's great at, he can do more of them.
Exactly.
It's specialization, man. It's like, and then Shane, like he can like what clothing apparel can I get rid of, what
supplements, launches, all that.
He can do this the CEO things where it's determining maybe margins, different numbers, like maximizing the business and the efficiency of Strength to maximize profit and all that. Whereas you can focus on sales calls and Diego can focus on coaching. That's how you build a business.
Exactly.
Because if you've got you're you're stepping in all 3 different ponds, and Shane's stepping in all 3 different ponds, and then it's never going to go anywhere.
Exactly. Yeah, we want to. I mean, the biggest thing is to get the right people in the right spots. And for me, I'm really good at getting the people on the team, doing the sales calls, because I got a sales management degree. I've done a lot of sales jobs. So I've
with Napa, you worked with Napa as a full-time salesperson.
Exactly, and some other sales jobs through college. But I learned a lot of strategies on how to sell and whatnot, and I feel like I'm decently good on the phone. Building the connection, right? Because I do a lot of calls. It's just like clockwork now. It's just easy,
The other day you closed 10 out of 10 calls that hopped on the phone.
We had 20 scheduled, 10 answered, 10 sold. So that's what we need. Shane's rule it's not a rule, but we say if they answer, you sell them. That's what the goal is.
Yeah, and so how do you grow as a salesperson? So you said you went to the Grant Cardone convention.
Yep.
And then one thing I want to tie back is like Uber. When you're in Uber, you talk to people, so you get comfortable talking to random people. So that might help on this side of things. But what would you say is the advice to become that salesperson who closes the calls?
Yeah, I think just it goes to you gotta obviously you gotta know what you're selling.
Yeah.
So I remember my first call with Shane. It was like, let's just make it happen. Probably wasn't too good. I don't think I sold it.
Never is. First time ever is.
I think I sold one that day, but it was, tough to get it. But through the repetition, you just got to have the confidence, knowing what you're selling, like what you're doing. Because if you're selling something and you don't like it and you don't believe in it, you ain't going to be able to sell to somebody else if you're not selling it to yourself.
It's that conviction in what you're selling. And it helps when you have a good product, a good brand, and a good mission.
Yep.
Which I believe strength does, in my opinion. I mean, in yours as well.
Rain from within. Exactly. And just to segue back to that, be able to, to the Uber, like you said, the conversations. I feel like I became so much more fluent in speaking with people when I went out to Boston, not only because of Uber, but my Napa job too out there. Like I'm meeting people from Boston right away. They're like, they can sense I'm not from there. I sound like I have a Midwest accent apparently. And there's a kid walking in. They think I'm like 16, got a flat tire, walking to these auto shops, but really I'm trying to sell them a tire machine, So just going through all that, and it would seem like it would be not a benefit to look young and whatnot, but I actually made it my reason why I could be successful, because I used it the way to get people to like me, because then I just laugh. I'm like, yeah, I usually get 13, so you beat them at 16, and they laugh right there. If you can make them laugh, they're going to buy. And it's not that I'm just trying to get them to laugh to buy. No, I actually build real connections and real relationships with them. So I had a lot of people out there. And for Uber, it just, you don't want a silent car. So I always had conversation going. And a lot of Ubers don't conversate. So me conversating all the time when I was doing that on the side got me good ratings. And I don't know if you know this, but if you have a good rating, like at 5-star, I was 5-star, you don't get paired up with anyone below. So 5-star riders get paired up with 5-star drivers.
Oh, wow.
That's how it works, like the algorithm.
So you had the best people in your car. You had people who you want to be driving
that
around.
Helps. That helps not having people puke in your car.
Not show up.
People wreck stuff, as well as tips, too. Like, there were some very nice tips sometimes, which helps conversation.
Dude, I think one of the most valuable, you just said the most valuable piece of information is, you'd walk into these stores and people thought you were younger. Yep. And you use that to your advantage. Exactly. And I think Alex Hormozy talks about this. So he relates it to someone starting a gym, because he did a gym launch, if you know what that is. Yep. So when he did gym launch, he says the people that are coming into the market are like, well, how could I ever compete with you? You have gym launch, it's so big, it's so whatever. And they're looking at all the reasons why they can't win. Versus if they looked at, well, I'm small, if they used it and said to someone like, well, I'm a smaller brand, I'm going to take care of your company with everything I got. It's like you looked at the thing that a lot of people would see their limiting thing.
Exactly.
And now that's the thing that makes you be able to make those sales, because, hey, I look younger. The fact that I don't, they thought I was 16 or whatever it was, and I'm actually just joking with them, I thought I was 13. Yep. And you are so confident and secure in the person you are at this point, because you've done the work, you've been through this, that you can actually now flip that to be the advantage that gets you those sales.
Exactly. And how you just said that, it brings me to a quote I heard once is, a lot of people look at obstacles like that as roadblocks, but for me, I look at them as opportunities. So that's like an obstacle, like, this guy isn't going to take me serious because I look young. But I'm going to, instead of that being a roadblock to the sale, I'm going to make that, the opportunity to get better at it. Right. So
I'm younger, so he's going to relate to me. He might make a joke. I can flip that joke. Yeah. I'm more personable. Now this guy wants to buy from me.
Yep. Exactly. That's what you got to do. And you just got to be confident in what you're doing and, just believe in yourself.
Yeah, and I think something I want to tie back to my life lately with this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously, I don't know. I might or might not cut this out because we were just laughing, and it's part of me, man. And I was talking to my mentor this morning, and he was like, "I've been trying to be this podcaster, or I can't have this guest on until I'm at this level." And it's like, why, man? It's like people are gonna be listening to this because it's me and being my authentic self. And so I've been trying, like, obviously I want to grow. Yep. I'm a work in progress, but it's like, dude, where I'm at right now is like perfect. And so part of me is like, I like to laugh. I like to have a good conversation with people. And whereas I think I am going to leave that part in there because it was so funny, dude.
Oh, yeah.
And like, it wasn't like I was laughing at you talking, but something you told me earlier resonated with something you told me another time, which we're about to dive into. And I was like, dude, this guy is crazy, but he's awesome. And so I kind of just laughed, but really, it's taking those things that authentically make you you, and how can I position this to do well in what I'm doing? Mm-hmm. So I think you just made that point clear. So That's kind of like encouragement to whoever you are. Those things that people might talk bad about, or those things that you might be insecure about, how can you just have confidence in them, walk into any situation, and flip them to be your advantage?
Yeah, exactly. So you're just asking, like, how do I make them my advantage?
No, I'm just kind of like letting the viewer, asking the viewer, because you could explain how you did it. But dude, so that leads me to the thing I was laughing about. So you had a little turning point. You went to school. Yeah. You were having fun, drinking, partying. And there was a moment, which I'll let you explain, where I think everything kind of flipped for you. And it went from this fun, partying, enjoying life to now it's like this is kind of a wake up.
Yep.
That could have gone really bad. Yep. Now I'm gonna bunker down. I have this new goal, and you've changed the way you lived.
Yeah, so obviously you're talking about the flip, right?
Yeah, I'm going to let you tell your own story, but
So, 2019, I was, I wouldn't say, I probably was a little immature still, but, we're having fun.
You're in college, you're having fun.
19, college, having fun. Me and Shane threw that party in June that year where you got busted, which you knew about. I think you do, right?
Yeah.
And I did like a little jump off a balcony there, and it was only like 10 feet. Well, that's kind of a lot, but yeah. So
10 feet, and the reason I was laughing is because I didn't know about this heart condition when he told me about the flip.
Okay.
So the fact that he's doing the flips with this thing where they told him he can't do sports, but now he's flipping off first a balcony. Now keep going.
Yeah. So long story short, we get past that party. It got busted. A lot of fines. But Oktoberfest, 2019. I'm up on this roof, and it's a darty, right? It's 300 kids out. The streets flooded. I remember sitting up there, and I'm not like this anymore. I was, probably pretty dumb for doing it. Obviously, pretty dumb. But I remember seeing all the people. I'm like, man, I just jumped off that balcony at Shane's party. That was cool. Wonder what they'd think if I just did a front flip off this house, which is probably not a good thing, obviously. So I just remember, now I would never even. I don't like heights either. I don't know if I told you that. I like planes are fine, but I just don't like going on. I don't like going on ladders, roofs. I don't like that. But I just remember turning to my buddy Shane Craig is his name, Shane as well. Different Shane. I just said, hey, roll the tape. He's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I put the hat backwards. I said, I'm going off. And I remember just getting some people together. I didn't know them, and they're like, oh, come on. And I'm like, no, we need more. We need more people. So we got 4 and 4. And they were like, yeah, let's get you. And it is a terrible decision, but I decided to jump off. And not only jump, but I did a front flip off.
Yeah.
And because I did a front flip, I overshot the 8 people. And I just clipped. You've seen the video. We're not going to show it.
We're not showing the video, but
I just clipped the guy at the end.
Bro, you can't say clipped. No, you took that one kid down. Your whole body.
Exactly. Well, yeah, it's like you've watched WWE. Your whole body
got cushioned. It was literally off the top rope, Jeff Hardy. That was your inspiration.
That was the caption of the post.
Yeah, it was. He literally did a full flip, landed on this kid, and then I was thinking back to it on while I was about to ask this question, dude, you did this with the heart condition, but I think you realized, hey, if I miss that kid,
after that,
what am I doing?
Like I remember just getting up and everyone's like, oh, holy crap, and I thought it was kind of cool at the moment, and I remember calling my girlfriend at the time, and I was like, hey, I just did this flip, it's going viral. I was joking. It wasn't going viral. And 20 minutes later, she calls me. She's like, oh, you weren't kidding. I'm like, what do you mean? It was on Barstool Sports. And when I saw the video on Barstool Sports and the flack it got from people, like, oh, it's dangerous. Because the angle they posted, they don't see how the landing happened. You've seen the angle they posted. I just disappear. It looks like I just died, But I got right up. I was living.
Yeah, dude, the other kid took the whole force.
Yeah, exactly.
Shout out that kid.
Yes, shout out to him. But that was just like, it was kind of like, okay, you gotta. I've done a lot of things at parties in college that, everyone does stupid things, but that was like, okay.
That was the wake up call where you're like, man, that really could have ended poorly.
Exactly.
And you kind of changed your life.
Yeah, so I stopped really partying hard, stopped really going out through that fall, then into 2020, just focused on winning that championship, So I ended up winning the championship because I knew I was finishing college in 5 months because I went to a 2-year technical school. So I was done in 6 months after that flip. I was like, okay, it's time to go to Boston. Let's win the championship, go to Boston. So that was kind of the wake up because that was the changing moment where I was like, okay, we're putting this behind.
Yeah.
It was cool. Made the highlight tape. Now time to go. It's
one of those stories you can always like look back and talk about, and it's like you're glad it happened because it made you the person you are now. But it's like, you probably aren't proud of that moment, and not
no. I'm not proud of it.
You're not proud of it, but it shaped you.
Yeah.
And that's like we had a whole discussion about this, but I think everyone has those moments in their life when they look back and they're not proud of the person they were or that moment, or maybe even just like after they accomplish a goal, they have kind of like that existential vacuum, that time of like, what am I doing? But then it flips the script and you find like what my meaning is. And you piece that together from that moment to create an amazing journey, hit a goal. And now the goal, I'm assuming, is transforming into strength itself. And being here in Tampa and growing.
Yeah, so just, it all evolves, right? So now we're doing this, and, I don't know, Shane shared numbers with you, but he wants to grow even more, right? I'm not going to share the numbers Shane's on here. But yeah, he wants to grow even more, so I see his vision. Good thing with Shane is he gets these big ideas, right? And I have a good mind as far as how do you...
Analytical.
How do you get there realistically? Like anyone, you can say a goal, and we're just going to do this. And it seems like, oh, we just got to do that. It's going to work. There's hiccups. Like, for example, today we spent 3 hours. We've had 3 technical issues in the last 15 hours. Like really bad issues, like where we can't reach out to leads again. So the text ain't working. But we just sit down, grind, get it worked out. And yeah, but back to what you were saying is I'm really good at finding a realistic path. And that's why I think me and him are pretty successful working together because he gets the ideas. He needs the CEO. He wants to just keep going, right? And I find the path. Like, let's do it like this, and we'll hit that, and we do. And that's why we're a great team.
Got it. I got 2 more questions. 2 more questions to lead into. So, where do we see Jimmy in 5 years? What are some goals you're aspiring to? What's the man you're trying to become?
Yeah. 5 years. Well, I mean, how old am I? 24. 5 years. I mean, I'd like to be, family-wise, I'd like to have maybe my first kid by 29, 30, obviously married. So that's that side of things. Business side of things, with strength going the way it is, I don't see any slowing down. So still growing at the rate we are. I know Shane's doubled everything the last couple of years. So if we can keep, doubling it every year, who knows where we could be in 5 years, right? So.
Dude, I see you and Shane, and I can't wait to see y'all grow it. And dude, I can't wait. Dude, you coming into my life has been such a blessing. And like, it's just been even more recent because Shane moved down here, and then you had to bring your car down here. I met you, and then you went back up and came back down. And it's like, dude, this group of guys were like forming the community we have. I'm so excited. I can't wait to watch you strive towards these goals. 100%. And last thing I want to ask on the process is we always talk about daily habits and routines, and I'm sure it's going to look somewhat like Shane's. But yeah, walk me through a day in Jimmy's life, growing strength, becoming the man that he's wanting to be. What does that look like? What habits and routines are you implementing? Yeah. Yeah,
so obviously I've lived in 3 places a lot in the last, Boston, Wisconsin, Florida. So it all looks different, right? But for strength, for Florida, we go to the gym, right? And we literally work all day. Like, people think working all day is all, 8 hours, but we're literally, from when we start to when we finish, it's literally up to sleep. And we were working out at night after working, going to the gym. But now the day in the life timeline, I get up at 6, he gets up 6:30. I want to get in the shower first, get it over with, right? So at least like getting ready, I got to get in there. But we're leaving the house by 7, at the gym by 7:30, leaving the gym at the latest by 9:20.
Because you have your first call.
My first call starts at, some depends on the day, 9:40, 10 o'clock. And then literally from 10 to 12:30, I don't see Shane. He's working, I'm working. And then we got 45 minutes to eat lunch. We just shovel some food down, and then we go back.
Do you ideate kind of like creative time? Or
it's always work.
Yeah.
That's the only thing where before we worked together, we talked about all different aspects of life. It's not a downfall.
I think that's what this maybe group on Wednesday nights is so cool.
Yeah.
Because now
we can talk.
It's separated from work.
Exactly.
100% until after, when we can everyone can talk about their own ventures. But so
exactly.
Now you have lunch. Yeah. Talk it out.
Yeah. So it's not a downfall that we work together, but we just talk about work now, which what you just said. That's why we come here, and then we can not talk about work, which is great. But yeah, we get back in the calls till about 5:30, and then at 6, I got to start reaching out to leads, because I can't reach out to the leads in the day. People are working and I'm doing calls. So I have to reach out to all our leads at 6. And to reach out to them all, it takes about an hour. But then you got to reply to them all. So then I'm replying to them all for about an hour and a half to 2 hours. But that builds my calendar for the next day. So by the time I'm done reaching leads, it's 9 o'clock.
It's 9 o'clock and you're booked fully tomorrow.
Yeah.
So you're kind of doing this well. I mean, we talked about last episode, but Shane's on TikTok live.
Yeah,
most
Shane's
of the
on
nights,
TikTok,
and you're doing the leads.
Yeah,
but
I'm usually in the live behind him typing, and he's just, what's up? Because we get a lot of leads through that as well.
Yeah,
his TikTok lives. Like I signed a couple people that found out strength was from TikTok, so it's kind of cool. And sometimes some people comment, "Oh, did you get my application?" I look it up right there. I tell them, "Yeah, I got it. I'll reach out if we think you're a good fit." We don't reach out to everybody. Obviously, we can't take on everybody. We want everyone to have a good experience as an ambassador.
You gotta see if people fit the requirements.
Exactly.
Qualified to be a strength person who represents strength.
Exactly. So yeah, that's the day in the life. Just gym and work. I mean, and a lot of people see us out here in Florida, right? They think, "Oh, what are they doing?" Like, a lot of people don't see us work because we don't post our working. Because you see Shane's Snapchat, he's posting a lot.
Dude,
right?
Shane posts. I actually don't have him on Snap because I don't have Snapchat.
Oh, really?
I don't have Snapchat at all.
Gotcha,
but he shows
okay.
me the stories. But it's like, dude, Shane loves to post Snapchat.
Yeah.
And I think he's like growing that
and it helps
his
the business.
brand, and it helps the business.
Yeah.
And that's
and
the thing.
Yeah.
Is what people don't get is like people on social media who are posting all day. Like, you don't get that's bringing them leads.
Mm-hmm.
So as much as Shane's posting all day, like that's his job. One.
Exactly.
And 2, it doesn't mean like that a clip could only take 20 seconds, and if it's unedited, unfiltered, you just post it.
Yep.
It's not taking up all day.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
Dude, yeah.
And that's what me and him were. Well, he dropped me off here on his way to meet where he was meeting. But we were talking about that on the way here. That people probably think we just screw off down here. That people up where we're from, because all they see of us down here is like last night. We went to this restaurant in St. Pete. And, we were supposed to go to this one place, but it was closed because of the hurricane still. So we went to this other place, and there's this eel, and we're eating in a fish tank, basically, around us. And he's posting that and, doing goofy filters, and people think we're just screwing off. But the moments you're not seeing those Snapchats, it's all work.
Yeah,
like,
bro, you're not seeing from 9:30 when you're home till 9 p.m. at night. It's
exactly.
Like, but you still, I like how you guys balance. You still have those fun times. We still make the time for the things that matter, but you're working probably 60, 70, 80 hours.
And we have fun. And the reason we're able to do that is because it doesn't feel like work.
Yeah, because you love
like
it. Like this, dude. Like, this doesn't feel like, dude, I love it.
Yeah,
Like, this is amazing. And, like, having you on is amazing. So that wraps up the day. You get to sleep, repeat.
Yep.
And obviously, some days look different. Sundays you got church.
Yep.
Different things. But, dude, thank you so much for coming on.
100%.
This episode has been amazing. Dude, this is honestly like a conversation for like the history books. I want people to watch this for ages and ages, and I'm gonna, dude, it might be one of the ones I repost down the line as we grow and we grow, and I repost it multiple times because your story, man, is amazing. I didn't even know all this until you came on the podcast. But I just want to say I'm blessed and honored to have you as one of my friends and continue to grow this relationship, man.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me, and it's great to have you as a friend as well.
Yeah, anything else you want to say to the audience or any where should we follow you? Facebook, Instagram, give that out.
Yeah, yep. You can follow me on Instagram. If I could spell my name out, it's Jimmy_Bjorkman, BJORKMAN_28, or just add me on Snapchat, Jimmy2833.
Yeah, man, inspiring conversation. Thank you so much for coming on The Process. That's episode 4, Jimmy Bjorkman. I mean, oh man, what an awesome episode. And tune in. Peace.